Help those in need if you see them. My father's favorite statement was that one. There is a sizable construction company in my hometown. It is a division of a Tokyo-based construction company. The parent company is a sizable corporation that operates in a variety of industries, such as real estate, architecture, civil engineering, and housing. Additionally, I frequently watch their TV ads. The adverts highlight how young people are flourishing there and present a very clean image. Orders from that enterprise supported the local economy. My dad was a subcontractor for Green Valley Landscaping, a tiny business. Many people undoubtedly picture gardeners or other tradesmen when they hear the word landscaping. Actually, it was more akin to a cleaning company, weeding median strips and national highways. It's like pulling weeds. Working in the blazing heat throughout the summer was particularly harsh. Blue-collar labor went on regardless of the rain. He always smelled of sweat and was tanned. On my walk home from school, I once caught a glimpse of my dad at work. The image of my father raking up grass while crouching on the ground. He was always relaxing at home on his days off. An incredibly unhip dad. However, his subordinates appeared to like him in spite of this. In addition to taking on difficult tasks and working extra, my father supposedly often mistreated his coworkers. Some even claimed to owe him money. On occasion, his subordinates would carry him home intoxicated. Chris, a young man of approximately 25 or 26, frequently appeared to be the short straw. "Hey boss, we're here. Get up. Ethan, it's time for a bath. Let's leave." "Dad, not again." Taking a bath when intoxicated is risky, Ethan. "For now, just put Dad to bed." "Chris, I'm so sorry. Always." "No." My grievances were heard by the supervisor. "I'm sorry for keeping you up this late, if anything." Many of them were brazen, or rather refreshingly honest, whether it was Chris or the other old men. It was also interesting to interact with them. Actually, they probably wanted to sleep in on their days off, because they were working hard in difficult conditions. They would have to listen to their issues if there were new guys, and because the work is hard, they would occasionally go out for drinks. There are always some who are hurt, and those who are having financial difficulties. My dad most likely couldn't abandon people like that. Help those in need if you see them. Now that I'm working for myself, I can appreciate how difficult my dad's words, his hard work, and his way of life are. But well, when I was in elementary school, I selfishly thought I wanted a more luxurious life. On top of being a small business, he spent money like there was no tomorrow, so we were poor. My mom probably left because she hated it. She was gone by the time I was old enough to remember. It was kind of a taboo topic, so I never asked for details. But I often wondered why she didn't take me with her. Thinking about it after I got older, for my mom to leave her young child, there must have been some extraordinary circumstances. Like an affair, for example. I don't really know the truth, but he was a manly old guy who didn't complain about such things. Nevertheless, being poor and without a mother was more painful than I imagined. What was painful was being teased by those around me. Among my classmates was the daughter of the founding family of our main contractor, Olivia Smith. It's a common story in a closed-off rural town, but our school had a hierarchy with Olivia Smith at the top. It's unbelievable now, but for people of the generation before me, if they got on the wrong side of the Smith family, they apparently couldn't live in this area, like being ostracized by the village. In recent years, more people have started working in the city, so I don't think they have as much influence anymore, though. For example, there was an incident where wastewater leaked from a site where Smith's company was disposing of industrial waste, and it became an issue. But there's a rumor that Mr. Smith at the time silenced a prefectural assembly member with a large donation. Regardless of the truth, they are a family with that much power. In fact, even the teachers were mindful of Olivia Smith's mood, and I was one of her targets. "Your mom left, didn't she?" was just the beginning. Things like, "Isn't your lunchbox brown?" Doesn't your mom make it for you? Oh, right. She's not here. If I stood out even a little, I'd get poked and told, you're just a poor subcontractor. It's not like anyone's getting work from you. If it had been just one girl, I might have been able to take her on. Well, it might be a terrible thought, but I wanted to punch her. However, Olivia Smith had her entourage. They were all children of parents who worked at Smith's company or children of subcontractors. There were other classmates who weren't, but they didn't actively get involved. Indifference, like she was something to be avoided. They were protecting themselves so they wouldn't get involved. In fact, when other kids were being bullied, I had the same attitude. Besides, I kind of had my own thoughts about my mom not being around. And it's true that the lunches my dad made were mostly fried food and grilled meat. Very much a man's meal. Actually, at that age, I was grateful for something so filling, so I ignored it. When I ignored her, she started attacking me physically. She poked me with a pencil from behind during class, or blocked my way when I tried to go to the bathroom. Each incident might have been minor, but when they piled up, it really got to me. There were times I cried out. In class, the teacher looked at me, but after noticing Olivia Smith and her friends snickering, he immediately continued the lesson as if nothing had happened. She probably hated being ignored, so I'm sure she hated me for acting unfazed no matter what she did. At the time, I didn't fight back because of my dad. It would be a big problem if he lost his job, so I'd endured it. However, the only thing I told my dad about was the lunchbox. I asked him to make it more colorful. If that would stop the harassment, it was a small price to pay. After a while, my grandmother, who had been living alone, came to live with us. My grandmother's lunches had a lot of simmered dishes and things, so in the end, they were still brown. That summer of my 5th grade, I had no one to play with and nowhere to go, but I didn't want to see my classmates. So I decided to go a little further out. I said it was for a free research project, and I thought I'd play at the river's source. I put my lunch, a water bottle, a periscope, and a picture book I made the day before into my bag. My dad's worksite happened to be nearby, so he gave me a ride part of the way. The forecast is for clear skies today, but if it rains, get away from the river immediately. I'll be fine. If the water rises, you'll get swept away. No, I won't get swept away. Hey Ethan, the boss is worried, too. Yeah, right. People have died before. Be careful. Not just my dad, but the other guys too, were so stern about it. So, I just nodded for the time being. The source of the river was a park, and I had been there before on a field trip, so I didn't think it would be that dangerous. After parting with my father, I walked along the paved road and took the periscope out of my bag. I had made it myself last night from a milk carton. It was just a cutout piece, but I planned to use this homemade periscope to observe the creatures at the bottom of the river and write a report. Suddenly, something white caught the corner of my eye. Looking closely, I saw someone crouching a little way from the park entrance. The park at the headquarters is far from the city, so apart from school field trips, even tourists rarely visit. I heard that university students once conducted a water quality survey there, or that it was featured on TV. It's a person, right? I approached cautiously, trying not to make a sound, and observed. A white t-shirt and a denim-like skirt. Her hair color was a bit light, but I thought she was probably a child. People have died there before. No way. The sound of cicadas echoed in the distance. Even if something happened, if I ran back, there was the national highway, and my dad and his crew should be there. I instinctively took a step back. My shoes scraped against the ground. The girl listlessly raised her head. White skin and sharply defined features. Is she a foreigner? No. Maybe she's mixed. Hello. Why English? Oh, just because. What are you doing? I feel sick. For a moment, I thought I was being insulted, but apparently, She was feeling unwell. Should I call your parents? They're not here. I came alone. Alone in a place like this. I was confused about a lot of things, but first, I contacted my dad, and he arrived in about 20 minutes. Apparently, he had been working closer than I thought. It's mild heat stroke. My dad took the girl into the shade of a tree and gave her a plastic bag filled with ice. Thank you. It's okay. Where are your parents? She said they're not here. She came alone. I told you on the phone, I interjected. I wasn't asking you, Ethan. Go get Chris and the others. Feeling annoyed, I went to get Chris and the others. And when I returned, my dad was talking to the girl about something. Chris, sorry, but could you take them home? Sure. Can I just clock out then? Don't be stupid. Come back after you drop them off. He was laughing and joking with the other guys. Wait a minute, Dad. I haven't finished my independent research yet. You can do that tomorrow. I'll bring you again. The girl and I were taken home by Chris. The girl introduced herself as Emily Quarter. Her father was half, so she was 1/4 French. You thought I was a foreigner, didn't you? Saying hello like that. Emily, who seemed to have recovered from her heat stroke, and I talked on the veranda. Are you making fun of me? Not really. Saying that, Emily took a sip of a sweet milky drink called Calpus my grandma had brought. The sweet milky drink called Calpus my grandma made was clearly diluted. It was just white water with a little tartness and sweetness. Emily said, "Thank you for the drink," and after taking a sip, she frowned for a moment, but then drank it all in one go. Why? Wow, you really chugged that. Wait here. I'll get you some more. No, please don't bother. Don't be shy. No, then I'll have some tea. Please. All right. Grandma headed to the kitchen. Wasn't the Calpus weak? It was weak, but it was given out of kindness, you know. Emily was apparently a second-year high school student attending a private school in Tokyo. She was 6 years older than me. I thought that people from Tokyo were indeed more mature. That night, when my dad came home, he announced, "She'll be staying with us for a while." I said, "Huh." But there was no particular response. And from that day on, Emily stayed at our house for a week. The next day, Emily helped me with my math drills. As expected of a high school student, there didn't seem to be any problems Emily couldn't solve. But she didn't explain things from the beginning either. Try to figure it out yourself first, she'd say while reading my manga next to me. Don't they have homework or anything at Tokyo schools? Not really. Even with such a casual reply, if my pen stopped for even a moment, or if I got an answer wrong, she would point it out without looking up from her manga, saying, "You need to simplify that." Pretending to be working, I glanced at her sideways. Even though she had been in the sun yesterday, there were no tan lines. Was her unnatural paleness due to her ancestry? What? What is it? I know you've been looking at me. How did you know? What kind of psychic was she? Once I finished everything, she carefully graded it and explained things. Emily had a unique way of thinking. It's not really about simplifying, is it? You don't even need fractions. Just do long division. Then try solving this. And Emily wrote 1/3 on a piece of paper. Doing long division, it became 0.33. If this were a fraction, you just write 1/3. Isn't that easy? Then Emily scribbled some calculations on the paper. Basically, if you do the opposite of division, it doesn't go back to the original. What the? Well, why do you think that is? Emily cackled. The two of us also helped with my dad's work. We gathered the weed grass with rakes and threw it into the collection truck. I wonder if this is what they call the smell of cut grass. A grassy smell wafted thickly. It's surprisingly heavy when it's rotten. We stuffed grass into bags big enough to fit an adult and dragged them away. It's delicious. It's summer, so it's unbearable. Emily, don't you get tired of this kind of work? Isn't it what they call a valuable experience? During lunch break, we talked while eating the ice pops Chris had bought for us. Looking at it this way, the plants along the road are actually managed properly, aren't they? Yeah, maybe. I looked at the median strip. Indeed, the areas that hadn't been worked on yet were overgrown. It didn't look good. Some people say that greenery is disappearing from the earth, but I realized that it's not over once you cut it and plant it. Just then, a light truck approached. An elderly man in work clothes was driving. The company name was embroidered on the chest of his work clothes. It was Smith's Company. The old man started talking to my dad about something. I could see my dad bowing his head several times. Are you two okay? Chris spoke as if to block the view. Make sure you drink enough water and be careful. I'm fine. I won't get heat stroke anymore. Emily replied with a smile. Hey, Chris. Who's that old man? Oh, well, he's like the main contractor. He came to check on the progress of the work. Is Dad angry? I thought my dad was apologizing because he was bowing his head. The construction period is delayed, just between us. Chris lowered his voice. They bid with an unreasonable time frame. If the period is short, they save on labor costs, you see. Honestly, I didn't understand at all. But my dad looked terribly uncool and pitiful. Emily probably understood what was going on. She looked at me as if she wanted to say something, but in the end, she couldn't seem to find the words. By the way, Emily fell asleep before dinner that day. I think she was quite tired. The next day, Emily and I did the independent research we were supposed to do the day before yesterday. As expected, Emily wasn't very knowledgeable about aquatic life, but she subtly supported me with things like how to collect data for the report. What's wrong? There's a strange fish. And I pointed at the water surface. Is this a char? It was swimming, wriggling as if scraping the riverbed. Maybe it got scared and ran away when it was about to be caught. Oh man, that's awful. Saying that, Emily moved back a little from the river. She squatted down, vaguely watching the fish. Hey, isn't this boring? Me? Why? Because there's nothing around here. Nothing. Emily pointed towards the trees and grinned. There are mountains. She scooped water from the river and splashed it on me. There's a river. Hey, stop it. That's not what I meant. If you go home, there's Kalpis. It's weak, though. There's nothing, but there's also everything. In that way, Emily seemed to be enjoying herself. At night, she would make a phone call somewhere. After that, she would talk to my father about something. About 3 days later in the evening, when I came home, there was an unfamiliar car parked at our house. A Japanese woman and a man who looked like a foreigner were in the car. They were the girl's parents. As Emily had said, her father had even more striking features than her. Frankly, if he spoke English like that, I would have thought he was a complete foreigner. Her parents had apparently come to pick Emily up. The three of them stayed at our house and left the next day. Emily's father and my dad exchanged business cards and talked a little. Wait, Dad, you had business cards? Compared to my dad, who was talking loudly after having some alcohol, Emily's father was somehow refined. Emily's mother occasionally nodded along to their conversation while talking with my grandma. I realized Emily was gone. Emily was sitting on the porch, gazing vaguely at the sky, just like when she first came to our house. I didn't mean to startle her, but I somehow approached quietly. What are you doing? Emily jumped, her shoulders jolting up and down. Shouldn't that be hello? You're still making fun of me. Emily patted the spot next to her. When I sat there, Emily pointed to the sky and said, Look, stars. It was a bit cloudy, but the usual night sky spread out before us. Well, yeah, it's nighttime. Does that mean there's no sky in Tokyo? Emily laughed. Can't you see the stars in Tokyo? Hey, that's right. I guess you can't see them this clearly. That's not what I meant, Emily muttered to herself. You know, I'm going to America. My dad's going back to the main office, so we're moving. I see. But I hated moving just because of my parents' convenience. So, I ran away from home and got heat stroke. Is that why she came to a place like this all alone? So, the occasional phone calls were to prevent a missing person report from causing trouble for us. Her parents also found out where she was and came here. I was both convinced and exasperated. Thank you for what? For finding me back then. Your father also knew my situation and let me stay. I didn't do much, and you should tell your dad about your dad's stuff. You're right. Your father is an amazing person, huh? Emily, you saw him too, right? Bowing and scraping like that. It's not cool. Emily's dad is way cooler. That's true. But that's how he works hard to support his family. Even if I work hard, I can't become great, and I'll be made fun of because I'm poor. But if I talk back, Dad will lose his job. I told Emily about being teased at school. I usually thought it was nothing, but somehow tears came to my eyes as I spoke. That's tough. I'm sure you're being told unpleasant things that I can't even imagine. And Emily patted my back. If you're going to fight, you have to study hard and become great first. If it's still tough, I think it's okay to run away. She said something like that. You know, because of how I look, I was teased for being a foreigner when I was in elementary school. That's why I wanted to know my roots. When we decided to move and I was packing, I happened to find out that my mom had come here when she was in college. You mean she went to college around here? No, it was for some seminar research apparently, but I didn't understand the difficult parts. But you know, after hearing about it and looking it up online, it felt like a nostalgic hometown landscape. There's only nature here. It's enough. My hometown was here. For me, who had been in this environment since I was born, I didn't quite understand the hometown Emily was talking about. I'll never forget the time I spent here. I'll remember it too. You like me, don't you? What? I'll remember that too. With that, Emily went back into the living room. The next day, good luck, Ethan. You too, Emily. See you. Emily left with her parents, and so summer vacation ended. My treatment at school was the same as before. You're poor, so you couldn't go on trips or anything, right? If anything had changed, it was my attitude. I was studying at home the whole time. What's that, you introvert? Since Emily left, I started studying diligently. It was very country bumpkin of me, but I wanted to go to Tokyo in the future. Emily was right. I think I was probably attracted to Emily. It sounds perverted to want to be near a girl you like, but back then that alone was enough to make me focus on my studies. Thinking back now, it was a ridiculously simple motivation. Besides, Emily was already in a foreign country, but I felt like I could get closer to her if I went to Tokyo. Then, there were gradual changes around me too. Because I ignored the harassment and my grades improved, the harassment from those around me also subsided. Some of my classmates were taking entrance exams for private junior high schools, so maybe that created a certain atmosphere. Olivia didn't like that, and I was harassed from time to time, but I didn't care at all. I think her mental structure is immature. Most of them went on to the local junior high school. But it seems that connections couldn't do anything about the junior high school exam results, and Olivia and her group declined and their numbers dwindled. Oh yeah, I was surprised when I encountered the 0.99 problem Emily mentioned in math. I think it was in simultaneous equations in the second year of junior high. After that, my enthusiasm for studying didn't wane, and I went on to high school. By this point, studying itself was so much fun, I couldn't help it. It's not that I forgot about Emily, but it was like the means had become the end. I didn't particularly think about wanting to go to Tokyo anymore. After that, I went to a local national university and then started working at the Japanese branch of a foreign consulting firm. Now, I work in a department that does management consulting for various companies. That said, I'm still a newbie, so I'm currently learning the ropes by following my seniors. When I was job hunting, I was always concerned about my dad's company, but he said, "It's your life. Do what you want to do. I'll either close the company or give it to Chris." Chris joked, "That sounds great." By the way, Ethan, my dad looked up from the brochure of the company I had joined and spoke to me formally. His eyesight seemed to have declined considerably recently, and he was looking at me from behind his reading glasses. "Was it about 10-something years ago? You remember when that foreigner came?" "You mean Emily?" "What? That old man. He wasn't a foreigner. He was half Japanese, right? You remember? Then it's fine. It's not just that I remember that person." I grinned. This time, I came back to my hometown for work. As luck would have it, a class reunion was being held at a local hotel, so I decided to attend. It seemed that nearly half of my former classmates were working for affiliates of the local construction company. At the reunion, I chatted with former classmates, mostly just catching up. "Ethan, does that mean you're working abroad?" "No, it's the Japan branch. I sometimes go on business trips to the U.S. headquarters, though." "Wow, that's amazing. Hey, do you remember Kevin, the one who took the junior high entrance exam?" "Yeah, I heard he passed a bar exam." "Yeah, you guys have really made it, huh? My company's just going downhill. Come to think of it, both Du and Kevin were incredibly smart. Everyone seemed to have forgotten about the past harassment. Things are tough at Smith's place. On top of their declining performance, there are rumors of corruption. Apparently, an inspection from headquarters is coming soon. Smith's company was struggling financially due to population decline caused by the aging population and low birth rate. Consignments from the head office were decreasing, while revenue for the first half of the year remained flat compared to the previous year. In the countryside, even this kind of gossip would probably be a hot topic for a while. How carefree. As I was thinking about such things and nodding along to the conversation, I felt something cold trickle down my neck. Turning around, I saw a woman tilting a beer mug, glaring at me. If she were wearing a tracksuit, she'd look like one of those delinquent couples hanging out at a local discount store. Well, look who it is. The poor guy who ran away from his hometown. "You're filthy, so I'll disinfect you." "Hey, Olivia, what the hell are you doing? This is seriously not okay." "It's because this Tokyo guy came crawling back. Serves him right." The guys who were defending me and Olivia's old cronies were arguing. I took a towel from the waiter and made a phone call. "Hey, Olivia, don't you have anything to say?" I put my phone away and faced Olivia. This one and her entourage. Nothing has changed since the old days. They haven't matured mentally. This guy is really pissing me off. Should I crush your old man's place? Olivia let out an exaggerated laugh. "You're aging weirdly." "Is that so?" A woman approached us. "Hey, Ethan, are you okay?" "Well, this much is fine. More importantly, you were fast, Miss Miller." "This hotel seems to be affiliated too," said Miss Emily Miller. "Ms. Smith, you just lost $30 million. Ms. Emily Miller. Yes, it was Emily. By the way, I believed it wasn't nepotism. However, when I saw Emily's father as an interviewer during the executive interview, I almost cried out in surprise. Emily's father also worked at the same company. Attending the class reunion was, of course, part of the job. The team my senior and I belonged to had been requested to provide management consulting services by a construction company in Tokyo. Apparently, they were considering restructuring due to the poor performance of a regional subsidiary. When I inquired further, it turned out to be my hometown. The company with deteriorating performance was Smith's company. Because it was my hometown, I asked for some time to think about it. That's why I was investigating related companies this time. Since it was a company rooted in the local community, I was gathering information while attending the class reunion. In conclusion, Smith's company was separated from its affiliated companies, and its subcontractors were merged to create a new limited partnership. My father's company also participates in bidding for public works projects as the landscaping department. Such tyranny should not be permitted, and Mr. Smith was on the verge of filing a lawsuit. I have connections with politicians here. But if that's the case, I'll make this public, said Ms. Miller, showing some documents along with a picture of a fish. It was a picture of a fish with a bent spine, similar to the fish I saw when I did my independent research a long time ago. Wastewater from the factory had seeped into the soil and was flowing into the river. Wasn't that fish injured? A long time ago, a university research team investigated the water quality in this area. It was when the previous president was still in charge. I know. I was already working there at the time, but that was like a fabrication. According to the government investigation, there were pollutants, but they were within the standard limits, right? Yes, your company bribed politicians to cover it up. And even if it was within the standard limits, pollution was occurring. What are you talking about? Where's the proof? Miss Miller took out a campus notebook. Research funding was cut. The professor was demoted, and the research team was disbanded. This notebook contains the research content at the time and its outcome. It's my mother's journal. Then Miss Miller swatted away the hand of the president, reaching for the notebook. After carrying out a one-time restructuring, most of the employees will be re-employed by the limited partnership. Your company will go bankrupt. But if you wish, we will support you in finding new employment. However, if you continue to pollute my hometown, I will not show mercy. In the end, Smith's company went bankrupt. It turned out they had been fraudulently reporting profits from the previous fiscal year and were heavily in debt. So, your mother came here to investigate the river's water quality, Miss Miller? It seems so. But the rumors about Smith's company's fraudulent accounting were just rumors. How did you uncover it? I remembered helping your father with his work. I scrutinized the flow of cheaply fudged labor costs. It was surprisingly simple once it was over. However, it was unexpected that helping Emily would lead to such an outcome. Did that make you feel a little better? About what? About you being bullied? It turned out to be quite the revenge, didn't it? Not really. More importantly, there were people in that company who work seriously. So, this is where the real challenge begins, right? Good. Yes, we're not crushers. So, we have to work hard to make sure no one is left in trouble. You're poor, and you're not embarrassed to come to the bank. A newbie spat out at me as I was leaving the bank after completing my transaction. He seemed to become even more agitated when I ignored him, and he began to say something ridiculous. You intend to flee, then never return again. Poor people should simply hide their money beneath the mattress if that's the way things will be. I followed his wishes. I am impoverished, as you claim. Thus, I'm going to stop using this bank. John is my name. My father left me a factory to run. Even though I'm 63 years old and not very good with machines, I still feel young in heart. For this reason, I have given my kid full control over all computer-related responsibilities. My wife also says, why don't you give it to your son and retire? However, I want to work as long as my body is capable of doing so. Not because I don't believe in my son. He began working at this factory as soon as he graduated from college, gaining experience and gaining the respect of his coworkers. However, I simply adore my job. People in my industry sometimes think less of us simply because we work in factories. Indeed, the majority of our activity involves subcontracting, and we are very different from the firms you see on television in terms of visibility. However, there are advantages to running a small business. For instance, the staff members are like family, and we all support new hires together. The ability to sit down and converse with everyone brings warmth. I've grown increasingly convinced of that as I've aged. My father Tom has always told me that I will become president eventually, even when I was a young child. I was proud to follow in his footsteps as a child, but as I got older, it started to seem more like pressure. I rebelled against him a lot during my adolescence. Do your homework. You can't continue operating the business in that manner. My father constantly reprimanded me since I didn't enjoy studying. I'm tired of having your life dictated. I'll make my own life decisions. After that, I left home and obtained a work at a different company. I rarely went to my parents' place after that, and I had a tense relationship with my father. The relationship with him started to become better around 10 years after leaving home. After making the decision to tie the knot, I made my first long-awaited trip home to present my fiancé. He appeared to be much older because I hadn't seen him in a while. I had assumed up until that point that my father was constant and eternal. He will naturally age like me, yet I recall being taken aback by that insight. My wife convinced me to go back home and work for his company, where I had to start from scratch like any other new hire. At the age of 40, I'd assumed the role of president after being acknowledged by my father and seniors. It's been over 20 years since then. Though we've had tough times with the economic fluctuations, we've managed to get through by sticking together. There's a major bank branch near the factory, which is convenient and where I always go. It can get a bit crowded, but the bank staff's service is always courteous and pleasant. But things changed a bit this year. Among the new recruits this year, there was one with a bad attitude. His name is Ryan. I had dealt with him before when I used the bank. One day, I went to the bank to withdraw $300. He was polite and friendly, and despite being young, he seemed competent, handling his tasks efficiently without keeping customers waiting. Thank you for waiting. What can I do for you today? I'd like to withdraw $300, please. After I handed over my bank book, he made an obviously annoyed face. Just $300? Yes, $300 is fine. I'll call your number, so please wait in the seating area. Though he seemed polite, as I was returning to the waiting area, I heard Ryan mutter under his breath. Just $300. Himph. Pathetic. He must have thought he was speaking quietly enough not to be heard, but I have good hearing. However, I didn't want to make a fuss over such a minor thing and be labeled a complainer, so I pretended not to hear it. Number 48. Your transaction is ready. I was called to the counter soon after. He appeared to be acting normally, but as I was about to take the money and leave, I heard him mutter again, "Don't come back, poor guy." I was quite upset, but I decided to just leave the bank. After that, I used the bank several times, and Ryan happened to be my teller. He seemed displeased with me only making small transactions, and his service became sloppy, adopting a disdainful attitude. Every month, the day before payday, I go to the bank to make deposits. Since we have a small number of employees, that's been sufficient, and I use the bank near the factory for this purpose. Normally, I'd go first thing in the morning or change during lunch break, but today, with a deadline approaching and no time to spare, I thought the bank being so close, I could just go in my work clothes. The bank was just around the corner, so I figured it would be fine, as it is, and headed to the bank in my work clothes from the factory. Today, it was quite crowded, and it looked like there would be a long wait. I just wanted to finish up smoothly and get back to help with the work. While waiting for my turn, about 15 minutes later, it was finally my turn. Looking at the counter, the teller was Ryan. Of all people, of all days, it had to be today. Ryan glanced at my clothes and made an obviously displeased face. Wearing dirty clothes in here. I'm already used to Ryan's verbal abuse by now. Not wanting to waste time engaging, I pretended not to hear and took out the deposit slip. I need to make a deposit. Sorry for the large amount, I said, handing over the deposit slip. But he didn't take it. It seems like you didn't hear me, so I'll make it clear. This place isn't for poor people like you. Do you understand? I've been using this bank for many years, and there's no minimum amount for deposits. Besides, I am the president of a company, so I certainly earn more than a new employee. What's the idea? Trying to drive away a customer. People like you, dressed in dirty clothes, just being here damages our bank's image. It's really quite a nuisance, Ryan said, sighing exaggeratively. Sure, these work clothes are quite worn, but not to the extent that they damage the bank's image. I'm sorry, but I'm in a hurry today. Can we make this quick? When I responded calmly, it seemed to irritate him. I'm telling you to leave. Didn't you hear me? Always coming to the counter for such small amounts. Stop wasting our time. Unlike you, I'm not idle. His words were infuriating, but I had to make the deposit today. The salaries have to be available for withdrawal by 10:00 a.m. That's the guideline we're given. It's not legally required to be by 10:00 a.m., and it wouldn't be a problem if it's later on the same day, but it would inconvenience the employees. Is that so? Understood. Hesitating on what to do next, I decided to wait in line again and get someone else to handle it. It took longer than planned, but continuing to deal with Ryan would be a waste of time. If it was going to take time anyway, better to avoid his rude remarks. Reluctantly, I waited in line again. It seemed the peak had passed, and there were fewer people waiting than before. While waiting in the seating area, I saw Ryan being called over by his supervisor, getting a lecture. Maybe, I thought. In about 5 minutes, it was my turn. But this time, I was called to a different teller. Without mentioning my attire, they smoothly accepted the deposit slip. Finally, having completed my task, I was about to return to the factory when Ryan stopped me outside the bank. Wait a minute. Just when I thought I could finally leave, I wondered what he wanted. Moreover, his polite speech had completely disappeared, now speaking informally. This isn't how you talk to a customer. What is it? I finished my business and was about to leave. You just said, "What is it?" to me. I get scolded because of you. Don't mess with me. The scolding he received earlier was probably about his attitude, but this is a ridiculous accusation. It's his lack of professional manners that's the problem, not anything else. He was probably told to apologize, but instead of doing so, he's lashing out. If you get scolded, it's not my fault. Other staff treated me just fine. You're the one at fault for trying to kick me out with your arbitrary logic. It's your fault for coming to the bank even though you're poor. I was just kindly telling you that you're out of place. You insisted on staying, and that's why I get scolded. He clearly has no intention of listening. I'm glad we don't have anyone like him among our younger employees. Am I not allowed to come to the bank because I'm poor? There's no such rule, right? It's not about rules. Aren't you embarrassed to come here? I've never thought it embarrassing to go to the bank. It's a place I use because I need to. Nothing more. Do people really worry about appearances in such places? Do you worry about how you're seen by others when you go to the bank? That sounds like a hassle. I'm not poor like you. I don't wear shabby clothes even when I'm just stepping out. I couldn't help but retort. To get back quickly, I decided to ignore whatever else he said. Is that so? I'm in a hurry, so I'll be going now. Planning to run away? Then don't ever come back. Poor folks should just keep their money under the mattress. For a moment, I was dumbfounded by his words. Mattress banking. As if I could store the important company funds like that. It contains the employee's salary. I had trusted this place to keep it safe. But well, if that's how far he's going to go, I might as well do as he wishes. Is that so? Understood. As you say, I am poor, so I will no longer use this bank. Ryan seemed taken aback by my smooth retreat. He probably thought I would argue back and was ready to use that as an outlet for his stress. I'll come back another day to close the account. With that, I returned to the factory. After successfully meeting the deadline and when things had calmed down, I was at another bank opening a new account. It's a bit farther from both my home and factory than the current one, making it slightly inconvenient. But I chose this bank because I heard I could use ATM services at convenience stores and handle payroll transactions online. I'm not great with the internet, but my son has taught me a lot, and I indeed find it convenient. After opening the new account, I headed to the bank near the factory I always used. My goal today was to transfer all the money to the new account and close the old one. This way, I truly wouldn't need to come to this bank again. The bank was not busy today, and it was my turn quickly. What can I do for you? I want to transfer the entire balance of $350 million from this account to another one. $350 million. Excuse me, but is there any chance this could be a scam? The bank clerk seemed bewildered by the large sum. It's fine. I've opened a new corporate account at another bank, so I came to close this account. Just a moment, please. I'll call the branch manager. The clerk hurriedly went to the back. Guided by the returning clerk, I was led to a partition booth. Sorry for the wait. I'm Anderson, the branch manager. May I ask why you're closing your account? I've opened an account at a bank near the station, so I plan to use that as my main bank from now on. Therefore, I won't be using this bank anymore and would like to close my account. Mentioning the rival bank, Anderson looked panicked. But that's a bit far, isn't it? Considering your factory's location, our bank would be more convenient. The distance is farther, but I've made arrangements to operate online, so there's no need to worry. Anderson tried to convince me with various benefits, but I had no intention of agreeing. Is there a specific reason why our bank won't do? There's a young banker here named Ryan. He told me poor people shouldn't come to the bank and should just keep their money under the mattress. So I decided to close my account to avoid coming here. What? Ryan said that? I'm terribly sorry. Anderson was mortified and repeatedly apologized. I've been using this bank for years and always found the service courteous and pleasant. I don't think everyone at this bank shares his views, but his actions were too much. Anderson said he would call Ryan over, and soon Ryan was brought in, looking dragged. You've been quite rude. What were you thinking, speaking to our customer like that? Under Anderson's stern questioning, Ryan stumbled over his words. But I've dealt with this person several times, and he always uses only a little money. It's a nuisance when we're busy. Anderson was exasperated by Ryan's reasoning. How can you say such things to our customer? Judging people by the amount of money they use is not fitting for a banker. Ryan seemed taken aback by Anderson's strong words. What you did was wrong, and it can't be undone. But what's important is what you do next. Apologize properly to John. I'll apologize with you. Anderson, now speaking in a calm tone, urged Ryan to apologize. But pride wounded after being scolded by his supervisor, Ryan became defiant. I haven't done anything that requires an apology. I just said it was a nuisance, because it is. I'm just stating facts. Even Anderson must think it's a waste of time to be bothered with small matters. I taught you to treat every customer with importance, no matter how small the matter. I instructed you to handle each task with care. It's the accumulation of these small efforts that builds a good bag. Anderson's tone remained calm, but his disappointment was clear. I'm sorry my training did not prevent you from experiencing discomfort. I truly apologize. No, I understand. Your words were sincere. As I've been a regular customer, and as someone who also manages employees, I felt a bit of sympathy for Anderson. No matter how well you teach, if the person isn't willing to learn, it doesn't mean anything. It helps a little to hear you say that. I'll take care of the cancellation process for you. What? You're really going to cancel? Why is Anderson bowing down to someone like this? He's not even going to be our customer anymore. There's no point in sucking up. Ryan reacted to the mention of cancellation. Thinking about it, his attitude of pandering makes sense, given his excessively rude behavior up until now. Being canceled by someone like him doesn't hurt, or it might even be lucky, to have less useless work. Efficiency is important, as Anderson always says. I haven't done anything wrong, right? We were dumbfounded by Ryan's blatant defiance. Someone like him. You don't understand what kind of person John is, do you? I understand perfectly. A poor person who doesn't deposit much money, but has the leisure to come to the bank, Ryan said, laughing outright. You don't understand at all. John runs a factory and has been managing a corporate account with us, depositing hundreds of billions. You chased him away when he tried to transfer from the corporate account. Wait, but he always. When you were in charge, it was for his private matters. There's a separate savings account, so that account doesn't have much in it. He was chased away by you the last time he tried to make a transfer. I even have proof. Showing Ryan the passbook, Anderson continued. Ryan, who had assumed I was poor, started panicking, realizing he was about to lose a major client because of his actions. If I knew, I wouldn't have done that. Why didn't you tell me, Anderson? I did tell you. During your initial training, and I've been saying every day to treat all customers with courtesy. Ryan tried to shift the blame, but it was clearly his own fault. Please, I apologize. Don't cancel. I'm truly sorry. I'll be sure to be more polite from now on. Though he apologized, it was clear it was just superficial. Apologies now won't make me cancel the cancellation. How can I trust someone who judges and looks down on people based on whether they have money? I'm truly sorry. I really am reflecting on my action. No matter how much he apologized, his words felt empty. If you had said that as soon as you came in, things might have been different. But it's too late for apologies now. It's no one's fault but your own that it's come to this. Just because I'm apologizing, you think you can look down on me? His momentary show of humility quickly faded, revealing his true feelings again. Ryan's face was openly sullen. If you don't shape up, we might have to consider letting you go. Anderson raised his voice. Are you threatening me? I'll report this to the headquarters. I'm being bullied by Anderson. Thinking he had no chance of winning against me, Ryan started to attack Anderson. Perhaps he was hoping to obscure his own responsibility for the cancellation. You're free to report whatever you want about me to the headquarters. I had nothing to hide, and I will ensure you are dealt with appropriately. Don't mess with me. I've done nothing wrong. I am. Ryan kept insisting he was not at fault and acted like a petulant child, unwilling to listen. He probably hasn't matured emotionally. That's exactly why you're not trustworthy. You're not really sorry. Don't think you can just smooth things over superficially. All you care about is avoiding responsibility. That hit home, and Ryan glared at me in silence. Because of your actions, the bank has lost $350 million. The branch manager was willing to apologize with you, and you wasted that. Even a newcomer should understand the gravity of their actions. Reflect on this properly from now on. Finally, Ryan had nothing to retort. He opened his mouth several times as if to say something, but no words came out. In the end, Anderson processed the cancellation, and I transferred the corporate account to another bank. I truly apologize for this time, and thank you for using our services over the years. If there's ever a chance, please consider using us again. Anderson politely saw me out. As I left the bank, though I felt sorry for Anderson, I doubt I'll ever consider using this place again. Anderson had been generous in his response to Ryan's actions. Considering Ryan was still in his first year, he opted for a severe reprimand and a pay cut with the intention of retraining him from scratch. However, it seemed Ryan couldn't stand being scolded severely. He probably wasn't used to being reprimanded. Despite Anderson's kindness, Ryan wasted it, sulking and letting his work attitude deteriorate further. His colleagues looked at him coldly. He caused a major problem with his actions, yet showed no remorse and sulked instead. No one was willing to cover for such a person. Ryan seemed to have become isolated. Anderson had been willing to look after him until the end, but Rand pushed him away. "It's your fault I'm in this situation." He lashed out, eventually quitting on his own by slamming down his resignation letter. "There are plenty of companies that want me." He left with those parting words, but real life was not so easy. Ryan thought he would quickly find another job, but he was repeatedly rejected at the document screening stage, not even making it to an interview. He hadn't realized how harshly the world judges a newcomer who quits within a year. Unless it was due to illness, injury, or an exceptionally toxic workplace, quitting so soon is generally seen unfavorably. And Ryan's case was simply running away. Even if he managed to get to an interview, passing would be difficult. Having been part of many interviews, I've seen a lot of people. Among them were young individuals who, like Ryan, quit their jobs shortly after starting. I've heard various reasons, including complaints about their previous companies and admissions of lacking patience. We've hired such young people if they seemed capable of continuing with us. But if I were the interviewer, I wouldn't choose Ryan. He hasn't shown remorse for his actions and would likely quit again if faced with similar circumstances. Experience teaches you to recognize such tendencies. Without a change in attitude, he won't find employment. After starting to use online banking with my son's support, I've become proficient in its use. Once accustomed, the convenience and time-saving aspect of not needing to physically go to a bank is significant. While I can forgive Ryan, this situation has been a good opportunity. As you age, there's a tendency to be resistant to new things. However, I now aim to be more open to adopting new technologies. Riding the wave of change like that, I want to work as long as possible.